Hello artists, today we're going to start glazing your bowls. On the tables I will either have a tray or I will have jars full of glaze. And glaze, it's not like paint. What you see is not what you get. It goes on wet and it dries to a powder finish. The colors kind of look like Easter. The first day they're very pastel in nature, and then after they go back in the kiln and get fired, the colors all get brighter and better, and some of them change a lot. That's why it's really important to read labels that are on jars or labels that are on the tray if that's what we have. So for example, this one, it looks pink. Looks like it's cotton candy pink. It is not, because it turns clear. That is what's covering this entire plate. Or this one, it looks like a super dark brown. It's not. When it gets fired, it turns into this tan color that you see here. This is why labels are very important. And the clear glazes, whether it's the one that looks pink or I do have one that looks blue right now, the clear glazes only go on things that are white already and are staying that way. We do not smear clear all over your whole project. That is not necessary in any way, shape, or form. Just, it's one that I put it on here so you can see what it does after the fact, after it is fired. On your bowl, we have to do the inside. We have to do the lip of your bowl. We have to do the outside. We are not glazing this part that touches the table. That is a giant no-no. There cannot be anything on the very bottom because this has to touch my kiln shelf. And if there's things there, it's going to melt and it's going to stick to the kiln shelf. So it's very important that when you're done, we check it and make sure this is totally clean. Nothing on it, especially check those edges. Before we start, you want to check the inside. Make sure you don't see any debris, like usually black or brown stuff in there from my kiln. That's a prairie crossing problem. If you do see any, please rinse it out. Now, your inside is very smooth. The outside has a lot of texture. So it's going to be kind of important when you're glazing. And by the way, the brushes are going to stay with the jar. If we have jars, people will travel. When you're glazing, if you're just brushing like this, is it getting in all those cracks? It is not. So it's important that you load up that brush and you have to kind of gently poke at it to try to fill in those cracks the best that you can. And you could make your whole bowl one color, you could make it multiple colors. That is all on you. Just know that your pottery gets 2 grades. The first one was for the build. The second one is for your glaze job. If you need to change colors and we're using the jar method, we just switch to another jar. You travel to where that jar is and use that color inside your pottery. Also, if we make a mistake, if you get color where you don't want it, we can't just paint over that because it will show up again when it melts. So you need to get a wet paper towel or a wet Q-tip and we scrub where the mistake happened. There might be a little staining, that's normal. This is also not a color mixing lesson. These jars stay clean and we're not trying to mix them all up on here because there's no guarantee what they're going to do when they melt together. All right, my outside has one super heavy coat on it and I got in as many white spots as I could. I've done the inside. At the moment, the inside has one coat, but since these are going to be intended for food, then once that first coat has dried, I want you to go back and put a second coat on it. That way it's coated very, very well. We don't have any thin spots. And if you happen to have a little crack inside your bowl, you want to make sure that you get some glaze in that crack. Poke at it with your brush and try to fill it in, because that will help waterproof it down the road. So I'm finished with all my coats on the inside and the outside, and I made sure I painted the lip or the rim of my bowl. I'm taking wet paper towel, making sure the bottom is 100% clean. Watching those edges, and I filled in all the white spaces, or as many white spaces as I could on the outside. So right now it's very light and powdery looking. The next time you see it, it's going to be shiny and amazing.